Real quick, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a new episode of the Rusty and Mojo show out now where we had King of the Fourth Quarter, aka Kenny, as the guest of the podcast. It was a really fun episode, so go check that one out if you haven't given it a look yet. So I was watching the Lakers and Blazers play Game 1 the other day, a game that the Blazers eventually won. And I noticed something watching the game and looking at the box score after the fact, and what I noticed was Anthony Davis sucked. He put up 28 points, but he shot 33% from the field and was a negative 20 in 39 minutes. But more importantly than the stats, Davis seemed incredibly passive in this game. It wasn't that he didn't get shots up, it was that he didn't get the right shots up. He took 5 threes, of which he made none, and he took a whole bunch of mid-range jump shots. Now, there were a handful of factors as to why he was putting up so many jump shots, but the biggest one in particular was the Blazers were running out a lineup of both Hassan Whiteside and Yusuf Nurkic, which in turn clogged the paint and made it a lot more reasonable to be settling for jump shots. But the only reason the Blazers felt okay running out those lineups was because of how the Los Angeles Lakers are built. And more specifically, how the Lakers are built is around Anthony Davis. Not in terms of what fits Davis best, but rather what Davis believes to fit him best. And it is that factor that I think is going to be something that holds back the Lakers, and more importantly, it's something that has held back Anthony Davis and will continue to do so unless he changes it. What I am referring to is Anthony Davis's refusal to play the center position. His stubbornness in regards to what position he plays has been a huge hindrance on him and, in turn, a hindrance on the teams that he's played for. Here's why. So let me first clarify why Anthony Davis should be a center in the modern NBA, and then we'll be able to understand why his refusal to do so has hurt him and the Lakers. Also, I should mention that when I say Davis refuses to play center, I mean he refuses to play center full-time, a good amount of time, most of the time, even more than just sometimes. Of course, he does not downright refuse to play center from time to time, but his teams are built around him playing power forward because he really wants to play power forward, not center. It's why the Lakers have the center duo that they have, because they knew Davis would not want to play center, and of course they want to appeal to him as much as possible after trading their entire young core for him when he's on a 1-year contract. Kinda have to give him what he wants right now. But in the Blazers game, Davis was damn near locked out of the paint because of some lineups that the Blazers only felt comfortable running because he was playing power forward, those lineups including 2 250+ pound centers. In 2020, mind you. When I first saw the Blazers running out this lineup, I actually thought they were fucking crazy, because if you talk about 2 real true centers playing together in 2020 on the same team, keep that in mind, that would make any modern basketball proponent throw up in their mouth. When talking about spacing and versatility and all of those things, that seems really horrible, but when you consider the actual individual matchup, this was the right call to make. Because the Lakers were playing Davis at the 4 and either McGee or Dwight Howard at the 5, so they were killing the Blazers on the boards with this skinny-ass Gabriel dude out there. So they helped out the rebounding by putting out that lineup, and they helped keep Davis out of the paint. But let's just say we take these lineups and we swap out Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee for a stretch 4. No, not Kyle Kuzma, an actual stretch 4. I don't have anyone particular in mind, I'm just referring to the idea of the Lakers signing a tall shooter to play the 4 spot in this previous offseason, rather than giving McGee and Dwight Howard the money that they did. In that case, no way in hell do the Blazers run both of their centers. No way does Davis have to deal with that in the paint, and also no way the Lakers are bricking this many threes. Like, let's just say the Lakers sign Davis Bertans this offseason to build around Davis how he should be. Imagine how much better the Lakers offense would be. Now, I will give the Lakers and Anthony Davis this. The offense would be significantly better, but the defense would also be significantly worse. Though in terms of individual matchup, I still think it's more important to have the perimeter defense on lock rather than the interior defense with like the center position and things like that. However, in terms of team defense, paint defense is still king, and having 2 rim protectors is pretty damn valuable. It's why the Bucks are the best defense in the NBA. Both Brook Lopez and Giannis keep the paint on lock. The Lakers do something similar with Davis and either Dwight or McGee. So there is a trade-off. However, I don't have a single doubt in my mind that the Los Angeles Lakers would be an overall better team with this improved offense and slightly worse defense if they just had Davis Bertans in place of Dwight and McGee. And if you want to see some evidence that Anthony Davis at center is effective, particularly on the Lakers, well, look no further than their lineups this year. It's a small sample size because, as I said, Davis doesn't like playing center, but the Lakers this year have had a serious problem being just okay with LeBron off the floor. However, the best non-LeBron lineup that has played 40 or more minutes this year was the one with Davis at center. And this lineup in particular is far from built ideally around Davis. It's Rondo as a playmaker and guys who are supposed to be shooters but are pretty damn iffy. If this was the starting lineup and it was a stretch 4, just imagine how much better the Lakers would be. Against the Blazers, if Davis is playing center and there's a stretch 4 in place of Dwight or McGee, the Blazers no longer feel comfortable putting out both Nurkic and Whiteside at the same time, which means that Davis only has to worry about one of them in the paint. Not both. Because as they play now, Dwight is sitting in the paint, so now every time Davis is trying to get it in the post or in the pick and roll, basically just trying to get to the rim, now not only does he have to deal with his defender, he also has to deal with whoever is defending Dwight or McGee, when instead that defender could just be out of the equation with a shooter. Basically what I'm saying is pretty fucking basic, and that is spacing is important. Davis is a one-on-one nightmare of a matchup, but that one-on-one matchup isn't nearly as big of a disadvantage when you make it this easy to bring help defense by having another non-shooting big man in there. Basically, Davis playing power forward makes bringing help on him a fucking cakewalk. Sure, Davis can very often finish through 2 centers. He's also prone to make a pretty good contested mid-range shot anyways, and he can throw a lob to one of those centers if help defense is brought. But those are just temporary bandages trying to cover up the open wound that is Davis playing power forward. Put a shooter out there in place of those guys, and Davis is just that much more scary. And as for why Davis refuses to play center, well, it's really 2 things. 1. Injuries. Davis is very prone to smaller injuries, and playing the 4 keeps him out of the paint a good bit more. Or at the very least, playing alongside another big man prevents him from being the lone guy responsible for defending the paint, grabbing rebounds, and overall doing all the work in the paint. Banging down low is a more physical job, and if there's another guy down there with him, it's less physically demanding on him, and it kinda evens out a little bit, which makes him less likely to get hurt. But that leads to the other factor, which is that Davis sometimes shies away from physicality. Not that he is not a physical player, because he certainly is, just not to the degree that people make him out to be. Playing power forward actually makes him appear to be more physically capable than he is, because he's going up against guys who are typically smaller, especially in the modern NBA. Move him to center, and I bet he looks less physical from a one-on-one sense. However, he becomes a much better one-on-one scorer overall, because from what he lacks in some strength versus a center, he makes up for in speed and creating ability, specifically off of the dribble. With Davis being the lone center on the floor with 3 other shooters out there, with him having LeBron to be the pick and roll guy, Davis would essentially be unstoppable. And the Lakers offense as a whole, when you consider the fact that they would have LeBron on top of that, would be unstoppable. And looking at Davis's career as a whole, and what I think is my strongest point here, when you look at the best individual playoff performance both for Anthony Davis and the team that he was on in the New Orleans Pelicans, it's a pretty easy pick. Blazers versus Pelicans, first round 2018. The Blazers were the 3rd seed to the Pelicans 6th, and yet the Pelicans fucking swept them. Why? Well, Davis played center, and they were starting Nikola Mirotic at power forward, who that year was a very good 3-point shooter. In that series in particular, Davis averaged 33 a game on 58% shooting. Nico averaged 18 points, shot 46% from 3, and hit 12 of them in a 4-game series. The spacing Switching allowed Davis to both play great one-on-one, but it also allowed him to score without even really trying. I've never seen a playoff big man score as easily as Davis did in that series. So Davis was playing at his highest level, but more importantly, the Pelicans played at their highest level. Now, there are a bunch of other factors as to why that series went as well as it did, but I really think that spacing at the 4 spot with Davis at the 5 was one of the biggest factors. Refusing to convert to being a full-time center has been both a hindrance on Anthony Davis and the teams that he has played for. In terms of if this will change, well, I imagine once the Lakers re-sign Davis, they will try and move him in that direction, because this year the Lakers really have to appease Davis. What Anthony Davis wants is what Anthony Davis is going to get so long as he is on a 1-year contract and he could go anywhere that he wants. But once he re-signs and the Lakers have a bit more leeway, hopefully they move in that direction, because this would really unlock the potential of the Lakers, and it'd be nice to get that done before LeBron James is too old. This is a legitimate problem for Anthony Davis and the Lakers. I'm not saying it makes it impossible for them to win a championship, because it most certainly does not, but he's holding them back from being even better than they already are. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.